All right, guys, welcome back. We're starting a brand new build today. It's gonna be a rigid shovelhead chopper, and we picked up this beautiful 1977 shovelhead to be our donor bike. So we found a nice 1977 shovelhead. It's all there, matching numbers, title, ratchet top transmission. We're heading to pick that up right now. It's actually only about 15 minutes from the shop, so that's nice. Don't have to go too far. We're gonna get this thing picked up and get it back to the shop and see what we're dealing with. We did manage to get the 77 shovelhead. We're heading back to the shop and we're gonna unload it. Yeah, here she is. It's actually pretty nice. This front end's kind of goofy. It's like a 35 millimeter and like wide glide trees. It's all there. Nice ratchet top transmission, nice motor. So what we're gonna get into right now is we're gonna strip down this whole thing. We're gonna take the tanks off, all the front end, fenders, all of that stuff. We're gonna get it down to the bare frame, engine, transmission, and then we're just gonna start cleaning everything up. The frame prep to get hardtailed. I'm not sure if I'm gonna pull the motor apart right away. I usually do, but I think I'm gonna try to get the fabrication done first, and then while everything's out at paint and chrome and all that, then I'll rebuild the motor. Normally I don't do it like that, but I think it'll work better. That way I have a motor I can use for mock-up, and I'm not like waiting to get the motor back assembled so I can do the fabrication. And also it's not gonna get all dirty and messed up from going in and out of the frame once it's rebuilt. First step, let's strip this baby down. All right, we got her all torn down. Now we've successfully ruined a perfectly good shovelhead. All right, guys, well, we successfully got this thing all the way torn down. We've got our motor, we've got our transmission, and we've got our frame. All this other stuff back here, we're not even gonna use. We're gonna be getting a whole bunch of new parts, and I'm gonna kind of walk you guys through what I like to use for parts and what we're gonna use on this build. We're gonna be starting with the foundation, the frame. This fucking guy right here. So there's a bunch of different hardtails on the market, but we're gonna design our own. I'm working with my friend Joel from Cornerstone MFG. We're working on a rear section set of tubing that's gonna be all tab and slot that'll fit together. And it's gonna keep everything, you know, nice and oriented. So when you go to weld and fit it all up, none of the geometry is gonna change. It's gonna be spot on, and it's gonna go together really nicely. So stay tuned on that. We're still working on that, getting some things finalized. So as soon as we got that finished, we're gonna hardtail this frame, and then we can move on to making a roller. And then once we get the frame all dialed, the next thing that really sets the stance on the bike is the front end. So for this build, we're gonna be using a Springer front end. We're gonna either be using a Knucklehead replica Springer front end that would have came on the Knuckleheads and early Panheads, or we might use an even earlier style VL style Springer that has the I-beam rear leg that has like that dished indented. V-Twin manufacturing makes a really good replica Knucklehead Springer. And for the I-beam Springers, W&W over in Germany, they make a really nice replica one. And they're pretty much, actually, I think they're the only ones on the market that make the I-beam Springer. So two good options. I think we're gonna end up going with the Knucklehead style one. It's what we used previously on the orange bike, and it just looks classic and clean, and they work really good. And then once we got the Springer all figured out, we're gonna move on to the wheel set. So I don't like to use the stock 16-inch wheels that come on all these bikes.
Ew.
Instead, I like to use a 18-inch style wheel. And for this particular bike, we're gonna be using a dual flange wheel that allows us to use the disc brake and a sprocket of our choosing. It's a great setup, and with a disc brake, you can't really go wrong. They're just reliable and they work great and very low maintenance. And it's kind of my go-to for when I build a bike for a customer. They're not gonna have to mess with the drum brake or any of that stuff. So disc brake is kind of the way to go. For the front, we might keep it simple and go with a spool style 21-inch wheel, or we might go for more of a vintage style look with the Star Hub 21 wheel with the Timken bearings. So we always try and use the Timken bearing front wheels. They're a replica of the original Star Hub wheels that would have came on a Knucklehead or Panhead, but they have modern Timken bearings, and they just work and they last way longer, way less maintenance. And that's kind of the goal for the whole bike. We're gonna build a bike that's gonna be ridden and it's gonna last for a long time to come. I guess we do need an oil tank on this thing, so we're probably gonna use the horseshoe style oil tank. You can't go wrong with this style oil tank. It's this classic look. They came on the Knuckleheads and the early Panheads, and it's just a timeless style. So we're probably gonna pick one up in raw steel, and we're gonna do a little bit of modifying on it, and then we'll get it chromed afterward. For the gas tank, we're gonna use a Wassel style gas tank. To do that, we gotta cut off all these tabs on this frame so it'll sit over this backbone. And also from there, we're gonna do a ton of modifying on it. We're gonna cut the existing gas cap out of the center. We're gonna add a new filler location, a smaller one off to the side. We're gonna change the petcock locations and maybe do some other cool molding stuff. And then for the fender, I like to use the lowbrow manta ray fender on a lot of these builds. It's made out of really thick steel, and it's just super durable. You know it's gonna hold up over time. And I don't like to use crappy sheet metal that I'm gonna put nice paint on, because it might fail, and then you just wasted a $2,000 paint job. So it's always nice to start with good quality products. I get those from Lowbrow Customs. They sell a ton of different tanks and fenders on their website, so if you haven't already, go check them out. They got tons of parts if you're building a motorcycle. For the primary drive on this, we're going open belt, kickstart only, no electric start. I suggested putting an electric start on it for the customer. He thinks he's up to the task of kickstarting this thing every day that he wants to ride it, and I back it. You know, if you got that electric start, you're always gonna take the easy way out and just hit that button. It's better to just learn how to start your bike with the kickstart. Yes, it's gonna fight you like for sure some days. But once you get it all figured out and you create kind of that bond with your bike, it's really satisfying to just kick that thing over and fucking head off down the road. So we're gonna use a BDL open primary setup. It's the standard. They're made right here in SoCal and Fullerton. I use them on pretty much everything. And for the clutch, we're gonna put a nice clutch on this thing. The stock style clutch uses a bunch of these round coil springs, and they're not the best. They do work if you set them up properly, but we've came a long way since those clutches were used on these bikes, and we have modern technology. So we're gonna use a Pro clutch. And what that is it uses a modern diaphragm spring that you might see on a later bike like an Evo or a twin cam, or it's just way more efficient. It allows the clutch to release way more smoothly and engage way more smoothly, and it's gonna just work better longer. And also the reason why I like to run them is if you're using a hand clutch, they are essential. A lot of times when you use the stock style clutch with a hand clutch, at least in my experience, you get a lot of dragging, it's a lot of adjusting all the time, it's never quite dialed in right. So when I can, I use a Pro clutch. They're a little more expensive than the stock setup, but it's gonna be well worth it in the long run. But all that stuff, it doesn't even matter if this baby right here doesn't run like a top. You can probably tell this thing is a little crusty. I think it's been in that frame for probably 30 years, and it's in desperate need of an overhaul. When I buy these things, I'm not even worried about how they run because I know we're gonna go through them top to bottom and make them brand new again. So what that entails is we're gonna strip this thing all the way down. We're gonna clean every part thoroughly. Everything's gonna get blasted in our vapor blasting machine. It's basically like sandblasting, but it uses water with the media, and it does wonders on these aluminum parts. Like, it'll make these things look better than they ever looked. So we use that for all of our aluminum parts. We'll blast them. The nose cone and the rocker covers, we're probably gonna send those out to get polished. Cylinders and the tappet blocks, we're gonna repaint them all. And everything that's kind of crusty, we'll probably get some new chrome parts, and we're gonna make this thing look beautiful. And we do all our motor work here in-house. So we're gonna bore the cylinders, we're gonna do the flywheels, we're gonna lap the cases if they need it, we're gonna build the heads, new valves, all that stuff. Cut the valve seats. And then same thing with the transmission. Strip it all the way down, clean all this grease and gunk off, blast these cases, and then rebuild this thing with new shafts, bushings, races, bearings, all that stuff. Everything's gonna be brand new and work like it's brand new. Let me know in the comments what you guys wanna see from that process. If you wanna see the whole thing, if you're curious about cylinder boring, if you're curious about flywheels, leave me a comment, let me know what you wanna see. So yeah, that's the basic formula for how we do these builds. And if you're getting into this and you wanna build a Shovelhead and you've never built one before, I'm gonna make a series of videos that are gonna kind of walk you through how I do it at least. There's a million different ways to build a bike. I'm gonna show you how I do it. And yeah, maybe if you got any questions, feel free to ask. If there's specific things you wanna see videos on, let me know and I can make them. But yeah, stay tuned. Coming up, we're gonna hardtail this frame, tear down this motor, and do all sorts of fun stuff. So stay tuned.